Hey everybody, what's happening? Today we are working on the 2.5 T build again on the Mk5 Jetta here, and I think we're going to make some real progress today. If you didn't see the last video, definitely check that one out. We got this thing all torn down. I mean, we've got the intake manifold off, we've got the Evo header off, whole front clip is off. So this thing is ready to start getting assembled and getting some new goodies and billet parts and all the cooling and everything thrown at it. Today, I think the first thing we're going to start with is I did pick up a new alternator because, you know, while I'm in there, mechanics famous last words. I'm going to freshen up the water pump. This car does have 192,000 miles on it with all the original factory parts still. So we are going to do some maintenance while we're in there, and then we're going to start throwing some billet goodies on there. I got a billet thermostat housing, I've got a billet oil filter conversion that's going to allow me to do easy routing for all the cooling, for the external oil cooler, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start throwing parts at this thing. Alternator is off. Now, this can be a little bit of a pain removing it. Let me show you why. Old alternator, new alternator. The threads are on these dowels that are press fit on the back side of it. So as soon as you tighten it down, you can see that dowel pushes in and squeezes the clamp on the car. This one, before you put it on, which will go on a lot easier, you can see how the dowel's way out here, and then this one, the dowel's way in here. So that's actually going to create a lot of tension on the mount here because it's squeezing right here, so you kind of got to pry it off and just do your best to wiggle it off, especially if it's old and rusted. We cleaned up the mating surfaces a little bit. The new one should go on super easy, a lot easier than this one came off. But before we do that, we're going to tackle the water pump right there. We got to undo some engine mounts, lift the engine up, remove some mounts. That way we've got enough room to get the water pump out. That way we're not hitting the chassis and everything here, so we can get it out and get the new one in. You got to do some finagling up here. We'll get this engine rocked up on one side and get that water pump swapped out. We are rocking and rolling. I disconnected the dog bone on the bottom side of the motor, left it connected to the subframe, just disconnected the motor, got the passenger side mount out right here, hooked up to my engine support bar. This is why I kept this piece when I swapped the intake manifold, because it makes a lovely support piece to hold the engine up. I've got it clocked up a little bit. You can see how much higher up this water pump is now. Plenty of access to these bolts. We've got room to go higher if we need to pull this and rock it out when we swap it. Next thing to do is get that water pump out and put the new one in. And I'm trying to film as much of this as I can for you guys, but a lot of this stuff makes sense for me to just do off camera. There's not a lot of good angles to get a camera in there, and I just don't have the proper setup. I do have a chest mount for my GoPro. If I could find that and swap out the other lens on it, because I got the max lens on it right now for doing the POV videos, the helmet cam when I'm at the racetrack. But if I could figure that out, I'd probably get some more of this videoed for you. But right now we're just doing a lot of work off camera, showing you what I can. I'm doing my best. Sorry. old pump is out. We got the new surface, or the old original surface, all cleaned up rather, ready for the new pump. Old pump actually looked like it was in really good shape. I didn't have any leaks. It did look, based on some of the corrosion that was on there before I cleaned it up, that I might have had a leak about to start. So probably a good thing that we're getting this old guy replaced. But we got the new pump here. We'll put this in. I did get new bolts for this one. One of the few parts I actually ordered new bolts for. So you only need 3 of them. So we're gonna lube up this O-ring, get this thing in, get it tightened down, which I think the torque spec's only like 10 Newton meters, so pretty light. We'll get this in there, and then we can actually start moving on to the rest of the stuff, like the thermostat housing and all the other goodies to put on here. And just like that, we have a new water pump. So I think I'm gonna get the engine back on its own weight, put that engine mount back in, get this support bar off of here, because I don't really like wrenching on the engine when it's moving around and stuff. And then we can start tackling that thermostat housing, oil cooler housing, and getting some of the actual goodies on the engine. Then of course we will have to put the new alternator and everything back on, get the tensioners and everything tightened back up, and get this kind of the side of the engine all buttoned up. All right, engine's back under its own weight. Passenger mounts all tightened up, everything's good to go there. Dog bone mount is all tightened up, everything's kind of good to go there. So you know how there's the 2 bolts that go into the transmission, you got the long one on the front, and then that middle bolt that's a little shorter. Yeah, that one just started to go righty-loosey. So future Brian's gonna have a problem if I ever need to take the transmission out or mess with that dog bone mount again. I think we're good for now, but might have to drill that out, put a helicoil in it, or do something to fix that transmission. I do ideally want to get another transmission and build it up with an LSD and beef it up a little bit since we're going turbo. So when we swap that out, might not have to deal with it, might have to deal with it. I'm assuming it's the transmission case and not the bolt. Righty-loosey's not a good thing, so I think I caught it just in time to make it work for now. Transmission cases are soft, so definitely don't try to over tighten those bolts. Just so you know. We pretty much have a bare front block here. The water pump, why do I keep saying water pump? The thermostat housing and the oil filter housing have been removed. I've gone through this and deleted several videos up to this, and I still kept saying water pump. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Today, Junior!
That's the old thermostat housing, the old oil filter housing, which that actually has been replaced at some point within this vehicle's life. I want to say it was around 130 to 140,000. They're both off the block, so we've got all this room here. We're going to put the new billet housing for the thermostat and the oil filter housing, which is going to convert it to a spin-on style filter that uses the 1.8T spin-on filter, but it's also going to give me all my ports to run the lines for the cooling system, so I can run that external cooler and everything, and it's got a built-in thermostat. Let's check those out. Here's the pretty new bits. They are both from SMP. We've got the billet thermostat housing here. So this is just the base piece. This is the piece that goes into where the water pump is, houses your thermostat. I do have a new thermostat and a new cover that I will be putting on it. I've already thrown a couple AM fittings on there. I'm going to try to use this to feed the turbo with water or return. I forget what way it was going to go. And then this is the oil filter housing. So you've got your built-in thermostat right there. Got the dash 10 lines that'll come out and go to the oil cooler. And then I can run all my sensors, factory sensors, the sensor for my oil pressure gauge, all that from here. And then I think I can use this port over here to feed water to the turbo. So I think if I remember right, I was feeding from here and returning to here. We'll have our oil cooler and our water for the turbo in a nice clean setup with these nice billet features here. And this goes to a spin-on oil filter. That'll be nice and convenient. They are billet. Won't have to worry about any leaks because nothing's going to warp. It's just going to be a nice setup. So we'll get some bling that we'll put on the front side of the motor and then cover up so we'll never see it again. It also add the SMP vacuum pump delete plate to my cart when I was shopping with them. So that's going to replace the spool-in one that I already have on there. I just like the looks of this better. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the spool-in one. It hasn't leaked on me, hasn't had any issues. But we're going to convert to this one, just make it look a little better, especially now that I don't have the battery up here. It's a little bit more noticeable when you look down in there. I was shopping there anyway, so I added it to the cart. We'll do that later because we don't need to do that right now. Okay, this is pretty rad. Come check this out. We've got the billet thermostat housing with the factory OEM replacement outer portion. And look at that SMP oil filter conversion. There will be a spin-on filter there. The 1.8T spin-on does have a built-in thermostat, and then you've got your lines here out and in for the cooler. Gonna run an external cooler. This is gonna hook up right to my catch can. I do still need to add the factory oil sensor, and I'm probably gonna try to see if I can work my, it's a big sensor, but for my oil pressure gauge, if I can just work that right over here. Because to feed the turbo, I gotta take that line that it's running off the side of the head. Hopefully everything fits there. I still do need to order a new crush washer for that factory oil pressure sender. I took it off, it looked pretty grody. I didn't want to reuse it at all. Coolant out, so this should be able to go to the turbo, and then we can go back in right here to the thermostat housing. Do need to order a new gasket for this hard pipe here, and I think I need to clean that up a little bit more. That was even with the pick and stuff. There's a bunch of cruddy crap all over that. New gasket for that, and then I gotta figure out something because my plan for this top hole right here, that goes to the coolant bottle. My plan for that was to run a T with a barb, just an AN line, just go to the coolant tank. It goes up really tall, and I think it's gonna have a bunch of issues with the intake manifold on. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board, try to figure something out for that. But other than that, those are in. So we got some of the goodies, the cool stuff on the motor. This is exciting. Now all I gotta do is put that alternator back in, tighten down the tensioner, add the idler gears back in, and I think I'm gonna call it after that for today. I'll be back tomorrow. It's all back together! Just kidding. But we do have a brand new alternator in there, as well as a few other pretty important goodies. So new alternators in, we already did the idlers and the tensioner, which I ended up having to either loosen or taken out to do the alternator. New water pump, new billet thermostat housing, the part that mates with the block and goes to the water pump. OEM factory outside, brand new thermostat, S&P oil filter housing that converts to a spin-on filter. We've got all the bungs and everything we need to add our external cooler, built-in thermostat for the oil cooler so we can get up to temp and then maintain temp. This thing's moving in the right direction. I've had a long day. I'm calling it for tonight, so I will see you tomorrow, but you'll see me in about half a millisecond. All right, it's the next day. I think I did come up with a solution for that top port on the thermostat housing that's got to go up to the coolant bottle, or rather the coolant bottle to the thermostat housing. I think I came up with a solution for that, so I got to order some parts. Today, I think I want to tear into the core support and test fit the new radiator, new condenser, kind of get that part of it going. So when we're ready to put the front clip back on the car, I've got that all situated and it's ready to go. Amazing we had any cooling. Okay, we got the radiator and the condenser out, taken apart, out of the core support, separated. There's definitely a reason I'm replacing these. Let me show you why. Well, first and foremost, at 192,000 miles, just look at all the crap that's been built up and stuck between the condenser and the radiator. This is the radiator here. They're still getting some light through it, so it's not completely plugged up, but all that crap at least needs to be cleaned out. But it's 192,000 miles, so definitely gonna replace it, freshen it up. And this is the condenser here. This thing is what's been taking all the beating driving down the road after 192,000 miles. All the fins, most of them are just collapsed. They're filled with rocks and debris, and it's just clogging the system. You can still see some light through there in various parts of it where, you know, the bumper was covering it and not getting direct flow, and just all the debris kicked up off the street. This needs to be freshened up. I do want to keep my AC because I do drive this car to the track and it gets hot. So we're keeping the AC. We're putting a fresh condenser in it just to help with airflow going through the entire system. system going to the radiator and everything like that. We got to get these swapped out and back in the core support. So condenser is going to be pretty straightforward. This is a brand new CSF unit, direct replacement. Just going to replace this old clogged up unit, give it a nice fresh up, allow all that airflow to go through it and go to where we need the actual cooling. The radiator, on the other hand, is not technically as straightforward as the condenser because this is not a direct replacement. This is from Mishimoto. I've been sitting on this for a few years. Picked it up on a pretty good Black Friday sale, so I don't have a whole lot invested into it. I want to say it's for an R32, but I've heard rumors that they fit. It does look pretty close holding it up. Got all the bungs in the right spot, everything, so it should mount in. Should be a bigger core, better cooling. I mean, all the good stuff you want in a radiator. Nice full aluminum set, no more plastic end tanks, all that kind of stuff. So we got to make sure that this is going to mount up. If this doesn't work, I'm going to probably resort to just a CSF factory replacement radiator. That'll be freshened up, better quality, everything like that, and bolt right in. But we're going to try to make this thing fit. Hopefully there's no leaks. Hopefully it fits. Everything works good like that. But it is from Mishimoto, and it's technically a little bigger, and I think it's a cross flow. So I think the water is going to spend a little bit more time in the radiator itself to allow heat to dissipate. Should be a better system if it works. And yes, you did hear me right on that. I have been sitting on this radiator for a couple of years now. Same with the oil cooler. The oil cooler is going to be a 16-row Mishimoto. Big Black Friday sale. I picked them up for super cheap. I was planning on doing these upgrades before I hit the track for the first time with this car. The factory cooling's been actually holding up really well, unless you're on a really short track like Firebird West, where there's just no straights to allow it the airflow for cooling, and it's just constant acceleration braking, really short course. That's the only really issue I had with oil temps, but they still held fine. But yeah, we're gonna put this in now because we're going turbo, so obviously we're just upgrading the entire system. But yes, I have been sitting on this for a while. Plus, how you like my chest piece? Call it the Mark 1. I'm not Iron Man, but this is my Mark 1 chest piece. I gotta say, that fills that spot up pretty nice.
That's what she said.
I'm gonna get the fans on the back side of this, get everything buttoned up, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so So we've got a little bit of a good situation, bad situation going on, although the bad situation really isn't that bad of a situation. Let's start on the front side of the core support. Everything does fit. That radiator fills up the entire space up there, but it does fit. It's a little bit thicker, so it pushes the condenser forward a little bit. So I had to make a few notches, one there, and then for this tube here, just kind of had to clearance it over here. But everything does fit. It is bolted in, fully secure. On the back side, however, everything fits, no clearance issues, except for the fans. So the fan shroud, you can see I've got it mounted on the bottom there, but when you go up to the top, they don't line up. And I've probably flashed this on screen a couple times what this radiator was actually designed for, because I forget off the top of my head. Like I said, I bought it a few years ago. Whatever it says right here that this radiator was designed for, I've got a couple options. A, I can just fabricate some mounts for the top part, so it's not all flippity floppity like that, and we can secure it. Really not that big of a deal. Just some flat stock, couple of bends, drill a couple holes, mount everything up. Or what this radiator was designed for, we can look into getting the fan shroud for that, as long as the connector and everything's the same, because the ECU, again, these are PWM fans, so the ECU has to be able to control it. Couple options there. I would actually rather have the proper shroud, because you've got a couple row of fins here that aren't shrouded, basically getting no benefit from the shroud or the fans. So to maximize the cooling, the proper shroud would be ideal. I'm going to do some research on that. As for now, everything fits. Just a couple minor tweaks on the front side there to get the condenser to fit, and this radiator is in. It is big. It's not that much bigger, but it is definitely bigger. It's taller, so that little flap that they have on the top of the factory radiator to kind of block airflow, basically a duct piece, doesn't fit. And this radiator is thicker, and that's why I had to clearance the front side, because it's thicker, and the thicker portion moves everything forward, so the condensers move forward into the core support, which is good. I don't want anything moved backwards, because I want the fans to clearance the engine and all that stuff as well as possible. It's already tight with the factory setup. We're making progress. I think I want to get this thing just kind of hung on the front of the car, basically in service position, at least, if anything, just to get the core support out of my way. We're making progress. That the radiator fits, so I'm pleased with that. Man, this thing doesn't even have an intercooler on it yet, but it is already looking 10 times better with that condenser and that radiator, because we've got the core support just sitting there in service position. Just got these 10 mil threaded dowels in there holding it up. It's on there. It's out of the way for now. I got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as mounting for this fan shroud, whether I'm going to make some mounts for that, or I'm going to do some research and see if there's a different fan shroud that should be used with this radiator that I can use in there. I don't think going to a different fan shroud would cause any other interference with anything else on the motor. So I think if we did extend it up a little bit and cover the full radiator like it's supposed to be, as long as we can power the fans and do everything like that, that might be the way to go. So I'm going to do some research on that. And obviously I haven't test fit any of the water necks yet, so we've still just got the caps on the water necks there, but I don't see it being an issue. There's not really any different clearance on the core support here for those than any other difference. So as long as the hoses are still the right length and everything, we should be good. Still some more testing to do with this, but I'm going to do some research on that fan shroud and see what I want to do with that. Kind of have to have that situated. Can't just have floppy shroud there. That's no bueno. I think that's a good stopping point for this video. It is hot outside. I need a break. It's been a long 2 days. We got a lot of stuff done, and I think we're getting very, very close to actually getting the turbo manifold on the back of this thing and getting that turbo mounted and doing all the custom work. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about what we've done so far. I will leave links to all the parts and everything I've put on down in the description. If I forgot something, definitely leave a comment and ask if you're interested, because I'm a forgetful person. So I usually forget to put everything down there, but I do my best. So definitely check the description down below. Been a good one. Been fun. Got a lot of good parts. The billet pieces up front. Made sure that radiator fit. I do have some research to kind of finish and tidy that up. As long as those water necks mount up and we don't have any leaks or anything there, I think this is going to be a good upgrade for cooling on this. We do have a oil cooler to mount. We've got an intercooler to mount. We've still got to do all the turbo stuff. So it's starting to ramp up. It's getting excited. Make sure you're subscribed. Anyways, pet a dog, be happy, live a good life, do a good deed for someone, and just have a wonderful day in general. Wonderful week. I will see you in the next one. So yeah, that's it. I guess it's bye.